I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from, because what I'm about to tell you changed everything I thought I knew about my own son. My own son looked me dead in the eye and said I was a broke old woman who needed to stop embarrassing his wife's family. Those were his exact words. Not "Mom, can we talk?" Not "I'm worried about you." Just straight up told me I was an embarrassment. I'm Helen Walsh. I'm 62 years old. And for the past 15 years, I've been playing a role my son bought without a single question. He thought I was a warehouse worker barely scraping by on a pension that couldn't even cover groceries half the time. He thought the rust on my 1998 Dodge Dakota was because I couldn't afford better. He thought I shopped at Walmart because that's all I could manage. What Michael didn't know was that I owned the warehouse. All 48 of them actually spread across 12 states, and the logistics company that runs them, worth $72 million. When he told me I had 30 days to pack my things and move out of what he called his house, I didn't argue, I didn't cry, I didn't beg him to reconsider. I made 3 phone calls instead. If you're watching this, you need to understand something. This isn't just a story about revenge. It's about the difference between giving someone everything and teaching them the value of anything. That lesson would cost my son more than he ever imagined. But let me start at the beginning because you need to understand how we got here. Most people see exactly what my son Michael sees when they look at me. A woman in her 60s who drives a beat-up truck with rust spots eating through the wheel wells and a windshield so cracked I have to tilt my head just right to see clearly when the sun hits it. Someone who wears Dickies work pants from Tractor Supply and boots that have definitely seen better days. The kind of boots you don't throw away because replacing them costs money you're not sure you have. I bring grocery store flowers to family dinners, the kind that come wrapped in cellophane for $4.99. I always decline the wine because I tell everyone I can't tell the difference between $15 bottles and the expensive ones anyway, so why waste the money? I use coupons. I check the clearance rack first. I bring my own lunch in a paper bag with my name written on it in marker because even Tupperware costs money. That's who everyone thinks I am. Michael Walsh is 32 years old. He has an MBA from UT Austin and works as a regional sales manager at a tech firm pulling in about $200,000 a year. He wears suits that probably cost 2 months of what he thinks I make. His wedding ring is platinum with small diamonds set into the band. He mentioned once that it cost $8,000. Called it a smart investment piece. His wife, Sophia, is 29. She's an interior designer with her own Instagram following. About 14,000 people watch her post pictures of beautifully staged rooms and renovation projects. She drives a BMW that cost $70,000 and has very strong opinions about everything from my haircut to the fact that I still use a flip phone. Helen, she'll say, drawing out my name like she's talking to a child. They make smartphones for seniors now, with big buttons. Wouldn't that be easier for you? I always smile and tell her I'm fine with what I have, that I don't need anything fancy. The truth is, my flip phone has better security than most smartphones, and the app on it right now is tracking real-time revenue across all 48 of my warehouse facilities. But she doesn't need to know that. Not yet, anyway. The first warning sign came 8 months ago at Thanksgiving. We were all at my house. The house Michael grew up in. The house I bought with cash in 2001 for $280,000. We were sitting around the dining room table. Turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, the works. Sophia's parents were there. Richard and Patricia Morrison. Richard owns 3 car dealerships in Houston. Patricia sits on the boards of at least 4 charities and makes absolutely certain everyone knows about all of them. Michael was carving the turkey when he said it. So casual, like it was already decided. So Dad and I were talking. He still calls Richard Dad sometimes, even though Richard is his father-in-law, not his father. We think the family home here is really the perfect size for us once we start having kids. I was reaching for the gravy boat. I stopped. The family home. This house, Mom. Michael gestured around with the carving knife. It's got great bones. 4 bedrooms, that big backyard. Sophia's been thinking about how to update it, make it more modern. Sophia jumped in excited. The kitchen especially. Helen, I know you love it, but it's so dated. We could open up this whole wall, create a real entertaining space. White marble countertops, maybe some gold fixtures. I'd had that kitchen renovated 5 years ago. Spent $40,000 on it. Custom cabinets, professional-grade appliances. But I never mentioned that, so of course they didn't know. And where exactly would I go? I asked. Michael and Sophia exchanged a look, one of those married couple looks where they're having an entire conversation without words. Well, Sophia said carefully, you could downsize, something that makes sense for your income level. There are some really nice senior communities opening up, very affordable. Senior communities. I was 62 and ran 6 miles every morning, but apparently that made me old enough for a senior community. We're not trying to push you out, Mom, Michael said quickly. It's just that property values in this area have skyrocketed. This house is probably worth $700,000, maybe even $750,000 now. That's a lot of equity for someone on a fixed income. Fixed income. He said it the way you'd say terminal illness, with pity. Richard knows a financial planner, Patricia offered, dabbing her mouth with her napkin. He specializes in helping seniors maximize their retirement assets. Make that money stretch. I set down the gravy boat very carefully. I see. It's really for the best, Helen, Sophia continued. Think about it. You wouldn't have to worry about maintenance costs, property taxes, the burden of this big old house. You could relax. Enjoy your retirement. My retirement. From the warehouse job they thought I had. The thing is, I've never actually worked in a warehouse. Not as an employee, anyway. I own Walsh Logistics. Founded it in 2007 after I sold my first company, a freight brokerage I'd built from nothing. But my son didn't know that. My late husband Tom and I decided when Michael was young that we'd live modestly. Let him build his own success. See what kind of person he'd become when he thought his parents were just ordinary working people. Tom died 6 years ago. Heart attack. Sudden. He never got to see how this particular experiment turned out. I think he'd be disappointed. I'll think about it. I said that Thanksgiving. And I did think about it. I thought about it a lot over the next few months. Watched carefully. Listened to the things people say when they think you're too old or too poor to matter. The second warning sign was Instagram. I didn't even know what Instagram was until Michael showed me about 2 years ago. Told me Sophia had started an account for her design business and was getting really successful. She's an influencer, Mom, he'd said proudly. People actually pay her to show their products. I'd nodded like I understood. Asked the kinds of questions someone my age who worked in a warehouse would ask. Let them explain social media to me like I was learning about electricity for the first time. But here's the thing about being underestimated. People stop watching what they say around you. They stop being careful. 3 months after Thanksgiving, Sophia posted photos of my living room, my furniture, my family photos on the mantel. The afternoon light coming through the windows I'd picked out specifically for that angle. The caption read, "Tackling a major renovation project soon." Sometimes family members resist change because they don't understand modern value. But with patience and the right approach, we can help them see what's best. Hashtag interior design, hashtag family first, hashtag renovation project. The comments were brutal. Boomers won't let go even when it's time. Just take over and do what needs to be done. They'll thank you later. My MIL was the same way. Had to basically force her into assisted living. Best thing we ever did. That old furniture has got to go. Can't wait to see the after pics. Sophia had screenshotted the worst comments and texted them to Michael. I know because he left his phone on my kitchen counter one day and it lit up with her message. I didn't snoop. The preview showed right there on the screen. See, even professionals agree. Your mom's being unreasonable about the house. I stood there in my own kitchen looking at strangers on the internet discussing what to do with me like I was a piece of furniture that didn't match the decor. That's when I started documenting everything. I've been watching Sophia's Instagram stories for months now, watching her show off the custom kitchen I'd had installed, talking about her renovation plans like she's doing me some kind of favor. The master bedroom where Michael grew up, now described as our future sanctuary, in her posts. The backyard workshop where I taught Michael to change oil and fix fence posts. That's earmarked for a meditation garden with water features. In Sophia's world, I'm the stubborn old woman who got lucky inheriting a decent house and somehow managed to hold on to it. She has no idea I designed every inch of this place. Had it built from the ground up. Michael tells people I'm blue-collar simple, that I don't really understand how money works in today's economy. She means well. I overheard him tell Richard at a barbecue last summer. But Mom's generation just didn't have the financial education we have now. They made decisions based on emotion, not strategy. My generation. The one that apparently stumbled into success by accident. I have a master's degree in business administration from Northwestern. I graduated in 1984, top of my class. But Michael doesn't know that because I never told him. Because Tom and I agreed we wanted to see who he'd become without that knowledge. I'm starting to think we should have told him. But the real breaking point wasn't the Instagram posts or the condescending comments or even the assumption that I'd just hand over my house. It was what happened 6 weeks ago when Michael and Sophia brought her parents to my place for dinner. I should have known something was up when Michael called to ask specifically if we could have dinner at my house instead of going out. "Mom, it would mean a lot to Sophia's parents," he'd said. "They'd love to see where I grew up, where you live, get to know you better." I'd said yes because that's what mothers do. We say yes even when we suspect we shouldn't. They arrived at 6 on a Saturday evening. Richard Morrison stepped out of his Mercedes SUV wearing khakis and a polo shirt that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill was supposed to be. Patricia wore white linen and pearls. Actual pearls. Sophia got out of their BMW wearing a sundress that I recognized from one of her Instagram posts. The designer tag was visible in the photo. $3,000. They walked into my house like they were touring a property they were thinking about buying. Richard immediately started pointing out problems. "Foundation could be settling," he said, running his hand along the door frame. "See this gap here? That's not good." "The roof looks original," Patricia observed, squinting up at the ceiling. "When was this place built, Helen? 2001, I said. 23 years old. Richard shook his head. "You're looking at a new roof soon. That's 15, maybe 20,000 right there." He moved into the kitchen, opened and closed cabinets like he was conducting an inspection. "These hinges are wearing out, and this HVAC system is probably costing you a fortune in energy bills." Sophia was taking notes on her phone. Actual notes, like she was gathering evidence. Michael nodded along to everything Richard said. "Dad, you're right about the HVAC. I've been telling Mom she needs to upgrade." Dad. There was that word again. "Helen," Richard turned to me, his expression serious. "I'm going to be straight with you because I care about Michael's future. This house is a money pit. You're probably spending, 12,000–15,000 a year on property taxes." 16, I said quietly. His eyebrows shot up. 16,000 on your income, Helen, that's not sustainable. Henry helps out when he can, Patricia said gently. She meant Tom, my late husband. They thought his name was Henry for some reason, and I'd never bothered to correct them. But you really shouldn't have to depend on that. Tom's been dead for 6 years. But sure. We sat down to dinner. I'd made pot roast, nothing fancy. The kind of meal someone on a warehouse worker's pension would make. "This is lovely, Helen," Patricia said in that tone people use when they're trying very hard to be kind about something they don't find impressive at all. "Very home style." "Mom's always been a simple cook," Michael said. "Nothing wrong with that." Sophia pushed her food around her plate. "I'm mostly plant-based now anyway." Richard cleared his throat. "Actually, Helen, the real reason we wanted to come over tonight was to discuss something important. Michael and Sophia have some news." I set down my fork. "Oh." Michael reached over and took Sophia's hand. They both smiled. "We're ready to start a family, Mom," Michael said. "Sophia and I have been talking about it for a while now. We want kids, maybe 2 or 3. "That's wonderful," I said, and I meant it. Despite everything, the idea of grandchildren still made my heart feel full. "The thing is," Sophia jumped in, "we're currently in a 2-bedroom condo. It's beautiful, great location, but it's just not practical for a family. We need space." I saw where this was going. "I see. This house, though," Michael gestured around. "This house is perfect. 4 bedrooms, big yard, good school district. It's exactly what we need." Richard leaned forward. "Helen, I'm going to be straight with you because I think you deserve honesty. Property values in this neighborhood have skyrocketed. Your house is worth at least $740,000, maybe more. That's a lot of equity for someone in your situation." "My situation." "Fixed income," Patricia said gently. $16,000 a year in property taxes, maintenance costs, utilities. Helen, you're what we call house poor. You're sacrificing your quality of life to hold on to a building. We're offering you a way out," Richard continued. "Michael and Sophia buy the house from you at a family rate, say $400,000. You walk away with enough money to buy a nice condo live comfortably. They get the space they need. Everyone wins. 400,000. For a house worth 740,000. That was quite the family rate. And the best part, Sophia added excitedly, is you could even stay in the guest house while you transition. We wouldn't rush you. You could take your time finding the right place. The guest house. The converted garage apartment where they'd been living rent-free for the past 2 years. The one I'd let them move into temporarily while they saved up for their own place. We've already talked to a lawyer, Michael said. Richard's brother does real estate law. He can draw up the papers this week. We could close in 30 days. They'd already talked to a lawyer, before even asking me. I looked at my son, really looked at him. 32 years old, sitting in the house I'd bought eating food I'd cooked, planning how to take it all away from me. What if I say no? I asked quietly. The table went silent. Richard recovered first. Helen, let's not make this difficult. We're trying to help you. What if I say no? I repeated, looking directly at Michael. He shifted in his seat. Mom, come on. Be reasonable. You can barely afford this place. We're offering you a solution that benefits everyone. Everyone except me. That's not fair, Sophia said, her voice sharp. We're offering you $400,000. Do you know how much money that is for someone like you? Someone like me. I need to think about it, I said. Think about it. Michael's face was turning red. Mom, we need an answer. Sophia's already starting to plan the nursery. We've picked out paint colors. She's been working with a contractor. You've been planning my house? It's going to be our house, Sophia corrected. And yes, I've been planning because someone needs to think about the future here. Patricia reached over and patted my hand. It felt condescending. Helen, dear, you're 62 years old. How much longer can you realistically maintain a property this size? What happens when you can't climb stairs anymore? When you need help with basic tasks? I pulled my hand away. I run 6 miles every morning. For now, Richard said. But Helen, we're talking about long-term planning here. Richard's brother looked into it. Texas property law has provisions for family transfers, especially when the current owner isn't able to properly maintain the property. Are you threatening me? We're trying to help you face reality, Michael said, and his voice had an edge now, an impatience. You drive a 25-year-old truck. You shop at Walmart. You haven't taken a vacation in years. Meanwhile, you're sitting on $700,000 in real estate equity that could change both our lives. Both our lives. Not mine, ours. I need you all to leave now, I said. Mom. Now. They left. Sophia was crying. Patricia kept saying, we're just trying to help. Richard muttered something about me being ungrateful. Michael stopped at the door. You have 30 days to think about it, Mom. After that, Richard's brother files paperwork to prove you can't properly maintain the property. We're doing this either way. The easy way or the hard way. Then he left. My son, the boy I'd raised, the one I'd driven to baseball practice and helped with homework and held when he cried after his father died. He'd just threatened to legally steal my house. I stood in my kitchen for a long time after they left. The same kitchen where I'd taught Michael to make pancakes when he was 7, where he'd done his homework at the counter while I cooked dinner, where he'd told me about asking Sophia to marry him. That's when I walked to my home office, the one Michael thinks contains old tax returns and expired insurance policies. I opened the filing cabinet. Bottom drawer, very back behind folders marked utility bills 2010-2015 that no one would ever bother looking through. The documents were exactly where I'd left them. Walsh Logistics Incorporated. Articles of Incorporation from 2008. Signed by me as founder and CEO. Property deeds for 48 warehouse facilities across 12 states. All in my name. Bank statements from First Republic showing liquid assets of $41.3 million. And the Bloomberg business profile from 18 months ago with the headline, The Invisible Freight Queens of the South, How Women Are Quietly Dominating Regional Logistics. There was a photo of me in that article. Professional headshot, hair done, wearing a suit, looking nothing like the woman in work pants who brought grocery store flowers to family dinners. The reporter had asked why I kept such a low profile. I'd told her I preferred to let my work speak for itself, that I didn't need recognition to know my own value. She'd called me inspiring, said I was proof that real power doesn't need to announce itself. I'd thought about that interview a lot since Tom died. Wondered if maybe it was time to stop hiding, Time to let Michael see who his mother really was. But I'd wanted to give him more time, more chances to prove he valued me for who I was, not what I had. He'd failed that test spectacularly. I spread all the documents across my desk and took photos with my flip phone. The same flip phone Sophia mocked. The one that cost $800 and had better security than any smartphone on the market. Then I made a list. 3 phone calls. That's all it would take. But first, I needed to talk to Margaret Chen, my lawyer for the past 20 years, the one who'd helped me structure Walsh Logistics, who'd guided me through Tom's death and the estate planning that followed. I picked up my phone. It was 9 at night, but Margaret answered on the second ring. "Helen, what's wrong? You never call this late." "Margaret," I said, my voice steady. "I need documents prepared, fast. Michael's trying to take the house." Silence on the other end. Then very quietly, "What kind of documents? The kind that teach my son the difference between inheriting something and assuming he deserves it." Another pause. "How fast are we talking?" 24 hours, and Margaret, make sure everything's bulletproof. This is going to get very ugly." "I'll have them ready by noon tomorrow." She hesitated. "Helen, are you sure about this?" I looked at the photos on my desk. The Bloomberg article, the property deeds, the bank statements showing money Michael didn't even know existed. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. After I hung up with Margaret, I sat at my desk for a while longer. The house was quiet. Too quiet. It used to be full of noise when Michael was growing up. Footsteps running up and down the stairs. Video games playing too loud. Friends coming and going. Now it was just me and my memories and the very clear understanding that my son had no idea who I really was. And whose fault was that? Mine maybe for hiding the truth for so long. Tom's and mine for thinking this experiment in humility would teach Michael something valuable about character. But looking at how he'd turned out, maybe we'd taught him the wrong lesson entirely. Maybe we taught him that people who look poor deserve to be taken advantage of. That's the thing about playing a role for too long. Eventually, people start to believe it's all you are. They can't see past the costume to the person underneath. Michael saw a broke old woman who embarrassed his wife's family. He had no idea what was coming. I opened my laptop. It was an old Dell that looked like it might not survive another software update. At least that's what it looked like from the outside. Inside it ran on a custom operating system that gave me secure access to every aspect of Walsh Logistics operations, real-time tracking of every shipment, financial dashboards, personnel files, everything. I pulled up the property records for all 48 warehouses, found the one I was looking for, Irving, Texas, Walsh Logistics Main Distribution Center, right off Route 114. The warehouse where Michael's company TechFlow Solutions leased 50,000 square feet of space for their regional distribution operation. Michael had no idea I owned that building. He'd mentioned once casually that his company had just signed a great new lease at Walsh Logistics, said the rates were competitive, the facility was well maintained. He'd been so proud. Told me his boss had negotiated the deal personally. I pulled up the lease agreement. 5 years signed 2 years ago, up for renewal in August. Current rate $32,000 per month. That was actually below market value. I'd approved it personally when I saw TechFlow Solutions on the application. Gave my son's company a break on the rent without him ever knowing. I thought about that for a moment. Thought about how many times I'd quietly helped Michael without him knowing. Paid for his MBA without telling him where the scholarship money really came from. Made sure he got interviews at companies where I knew people. All so he could build his own success. Feel proud of his accomplishments. And this is how he thanked me. I picked up my phone and dialed Robert Patterson. Robert owns Patterson Industries, Walsh Logistics' biggest competitor in the regional freight market. We've been rivals for 20 years, but it's a friendly rivalry. The kind where we try to outdo each other but respect each other's business. "Helen Walsh," he answered, sounding surprised. "To what do I owe the pleasure of a Friday night phone call?" "Robert, remember how you've been trying to buy the Irving facility from me for the past 3 years? You've turned me down flat every time. I'm ready to sell." Silence. Then, "You're serious." "Completely serious. I want a cash offer. Close in 48 hours. Can you do it?" "Helen, that's aggressive even for me. That facility is worth at least $38 million. I'd need to $38 million cash. Close Monday morning. Can you do it or not?" More silence. I could practically hear him calculating. "Yes," he said finally. But I need to know why. You've held on to that property through 3 different attempts to buy you out. You've said repeatedly it's a cornerstone of your network. Why now? Let's just say my priorities have changed. Does this have anything to do with your son? Robert had met Michael once at a logistics industry conference. Michael had been there with his boss, Trevor. Robert had introduced himself, said something about how proud I must be. Michael had looked confused. I'm sorry, do you know my mom? Know her, she's my biggest competitor. Helen Walsh is a legend in this industry. Michael had laughed, actually laughed. My mom? She works in a warehouse. Robert had looked at me, seen my expression, and smoothly changed the subject. But afterward he'd pulled me aside. Your son doesn't know. It's complicated, I'd said. Helen, he should know. You've built something remarkable. Why hide it? I hadn't had a good answer then. I still don't. Yes, I told Robert now. This has everything to do with my son. I understand, and I think he did. I'll have the papers drawn up. We'll close Monday morning at 10. But Helen, you should know. TechFlow Solutions has a lease at that facility. Once I take over, I'll be renegotiating rates across the board. I'm aware. Their rate will probably increase 40, maybe 50%. I'm counting on it. Robert was quiet for a moment. This is going to hurt his company. Yes. You're sure? I thought about Michael at my dinner table telling me I had 30 days. Thought about him calling Richard Morrison Dad. Thought about the lawyer who was supposedly already drawing up papers to prove I couldn't maintain my own property. I've never been more sure of anything, I said. We hung up. That was phone call number 2. I had one more to make, the hardest one. I scrolled through my contacts and found Dr. Susan Martinez, the family therapist Michael and I had seen twice after Tom died. Michael had only gone twice before deciding he was fine and didn't need to pay someone to listen to him talk. I'd kept seeing her for 6 months, worked through my grief, talked about raising a son alone, discussed the experiment Tom and I had started and whether I should continue it. She'd warned me then. Helen's secrets have a way of causing damage even when they start with good intentions. I should have listened. Dr. Martinez, I said when she answered. It's Helen Walsh. I need to schedule an emergency session, and I need you to document something that's going to be very, very difficult. How soon? Tomorrow. Can you fit me in? For you, absolutely. Helen, what's happened? My son tried to take my house, threatened me with legal action, said I'm too incompetent to maintain my own property. She inhaled sharply. Oh, Helen, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry yet. I'm going to teach him a lesson. But I need a witness. Someone who can document my mental state, confirm I'm making these decisions of sound mind. Because when this is over, Michael's going to claim I've lost it, that I'm not thinking clearly. I need proof that I know exactly what I'm doing. I'll see you tomorrow at 9, she said. And Helen, whatever you're planning, make sure it's something you can live with afterward. I've thought about nothing else for 6 weeks, I said. I can live with it. The question is whether Michael can. After I hung up, I sat in my office for a long time. The house creaked around me, settling like houses do, like Richard Morrison had pointed out with such authority as if I didn't know every sound this place made. I built this house. Every board, every nail, every decision about where windows should go to catch the morning light. Tom and I designed it together back when Michael was 9, and we were still figuring out what kind of legacy we wanted to leave. Tom had wanted to build something that would last. Not just for us, but for our family. For generations. But we can't just hand it to him, Tom had said one night while we were looking at blueprints. He has to understand what it took to build this. The work, the sacrifice, the planning. So we don't tell him, I'd agreed. We let him think we're ordinary. Let him build his own life without our success casting a shadow over him. It had seemed like such a good idea at the time. Now I wondered if we'd made a terrible mistake. If we'd accidentally taught our son that people who look ordinary don't deserve respect. That wealth is the only measure of worth. That his mother's house could be taken simply because he wanted it more. Well, he was about to learn differently. I closed my laptop and put away the documents. Tomorrow, Margaret would have the paperwork ready. Monday, the Irving warehouse would sell. And sometime soon after that, I'd stop playing the role of Helen Walsh, broke warehouse worker. I'd show my son exactly who his mother really was, and I'd make damn sure he never forgot it. Saturday morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. I was up at 5 like always. Made my coffee in the same chipped mug I'd used for 15 years. The one with "World's Best Mom" printed on the side that Michael had given me when he was 12. It felt heavy in my hands that morning. By 6, I was out the door for my run. 6 miles through the neighborhood past houses where families were still sleeping, where nobody knew that the woman in the faded Texas Longhorns t-shirt and ancient running shoes was worth more than most of their houses combined. The morning air was cool. October in Texas finally breaking from the summer heat. My favorite time of year. Tom and I used to sit on the back porch these mornings drinking coffee and watching the sun come up. I missed him. God, I missed him. He would have known what to do about Michael. He always knew what to do. Except he'd been part of this plan from the beginning. We'd decided together to keep our wealth private, to let Michael grow up without the weight of money changing who he'd become. "We want him to be a good man," Tom had said. "Not a rich man who happens to be good. There's a difference." I thought we'd succeeded. Michael had grown up kind, thoughtful. He'd volunteered at the animal shelter in high school, helped elderly neighbors with yard work, cried at his father's funeral in a way that showed real grief, not performance. When did that boy disappear? When did he become someone who could threaten his own mother? Or maybe he'd always been capable of it, and I'd just been too blind to see. At 9 o'clock sharp, I walked into Dr. Martinez's office. She stood when she saw me, came around her desk to hug me. Dr. Martinez had been in her 40s when I first started seeing her. Now she was in her 50s with gray threading through her dark hair and glasses that made her look wise instead of old. "Helen," she said, and there was so much compassion in that one word that I almost started crying right there. Almost. But I'd cried enough over the past 6 weeks. Now it was time for action. "Tell me everything," she said once we were seated. So I did. The whole story from Thanksgiving to the dinner party to Michael's threat at my door. I showed her the documents Margaret had prepared. The bank statements, the property deeds, the Bloomberg article. Her eyes widened as she read. "Helen Walsh," she said slowly. "The Helen Walsh, from Walsh Logistics. That's me. And your son doesn't know." "Nobody knows. That was the point. Tom and I wanted Michael to build his own success, figure out who he was without money influencing it." Dr. Martinez was quiet for a long moment, looking at the documents spread across her desk. "And instead," she said finally, "he became someone who judges people by their bank accounts, someone who sees his mother as a burden because he thinks she's poor." "Yes." "Oh, Helen." She took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "What you and Tom were trying to do, I understand it. But secrets like this, they don't just affect the person keeping them. They affect everyone around them in ways we can't predict." "I know that now." "What are you going to do?" I told her. "All of it. The warehouse sale. The property transfer that would evict Michael and Sophia from the guest house they didn't even realize was separate from the main house. The plan to reveal everything at Sophia's dinner party." "You want me to document that you're of sound mind when you do this?" Dr. Martinez said. "Yes, because when it's done, Michael's going to claim I've lost it, that I'm senile or confused or being manipulated. I need proof that I know exactly what I'm doing and why." She looked at me for a long time. Then she pulled out a legal pad and started writing. "For the record," she said as she wrote, "I believe you're making a mistake." My stomach dropped. "What, T? Not about teaching Michael a lesson. He clearly needs one, but about the method." She looked up at me. "Helen, humiliation doesn't teach humility. It teaches resentment. You're about to embarrass your son in front of everyone he knows, in front of his wife, his in-laws, his boss. That's going to create a wound that might never heal. He threatened to take my house." "I know, and he was wrong. Absolutely unforgivably wrong." She set down her pen. "But you're his mother. You have the power to teach him this lesson in a way that doesn't destroy your relationship forever. Are you sure this is how you want to do it?" I thought about Michael's face at my door, the casual cruelty in his voice when he'd given me 30 days, the way he'd called Richard Morrison Dad while threatening his actual mother with legal action. "Yes," I said, "I'm sure." Dr. Martinez sighed and went back to writing. 30 minutes later, I walked out with a notarized letter stating that Helen Walsh, age 62, was of completely sound mind and body, that she understood the consequences of her actions, that she was not being coerced or manipulated, that she was making decisions about her property and her business with full mental capacity. It felt like armor. The dinner party was Sophia's idea. Michael called me Sunday afternoon. His voice was stiff, formal, the way you talk to someone you're in a fight with but trying to pretend you're not. "Mom, Sophia's hosting a dinner party Tuesday night. At your house. We'd like you to be there." My house. They were hosting a party at my house. "What's the occasion?" I asked. "We're making an announcement. About the baby." He paused. "About the house. We think it's time to tell everyone our plans. Make it official." Ah. So they were going to announce to all their friends that they were taking over my property. Make it a done deal in front of witnesses so I couldn't back out without looking like the villain. Smart, cruel, but smart. "What time?" I asked. 7. And Mom, his voice softened slightly. "Sophia's inviting some important people, her biggest clients, my boss. Could you maybe dress appropriately? She's worked really hard on this." Dress appropriately, meaning don't embarrass them by looking poor. "I'll be there," I sassy said. I didn't promise anything about what I'd wear. Monday morning, I met Robert Patterson at his lawyer's office. The closing took 2 hours. Papers signed, notarized, filed. $38 million transferred from Patterson Industries to Walsh Logistics. Property deed changed hands. As of 11:42 Monday morning, I no longer owned the Irving warehouse. Robert shook my hand across the table. "Pleasure doing business with you, Helen, even if I'm still not entirely sure why you sold." "You'll find out tomorrow night," I said. His lawyer, a sharp woman named Jennifer, spoke up. "Ms. Walsh, we should discuss the existing leases. There are 17 companies currently renting space in that facility. We'll be sending new rate notices this week." "How much of an increase are we talking?" Robert asked. Jennifer consulted her notes. "Based on current market rates, we're looking at 40 to 50% across the board. Some tenants may choose not to renew." "That's expected," Robert said. "Then to me, your son's company is one of the largest tenants. TechFlow Solutions. They're using 50,000 square feet." "I know. Their current rate is $32,000 per month. Below market value, I noticed." "I gave them a discount." Robert's eyebrow lifted. "Did your son know that?" "No." "And now their rate will jump to—" Jennifer checked her tablet. "Based on the new rate structure, approximately $55,000 per month, plus additional fees for premium services. That's an extra $276,000 per year," Robert calculated. "It's going to hurt their bottom line." "I know," I said again. What I didn't say was that it was going to hurt more than their bottom line. TechFlow was already struggling with some supply chain issues. I knew because Michael had mentioned it, complaining about his boss Trevor stressing over quarterly numbers. An extra $250,000 in annual overhead costs. That was the kind of thing that led to layoffs. Michael might be one of them. Robert seemed to read my thoughts. "Helen, I'm not going to tell you how to run your family. But are you sure about this? I thought about Michael telling me I had 30 days. Thought about Sophia posting pictures of my living room on Instagram calling me a family member who resisted change. Thought about Richard Morrison saying I couldn't properly maintain my own property." "I'm sure." Tuesday morning, Margaret Chen called. "The property transfer is complete," she said. "The house at 4782 Oakmont Drive is now held in the Walsh Family Trust with you as the primary beneficiary and trustee. The guest house occupants, Michael and Sophia Walsh, have been issued official 60-day notice to vacate." "When will they receive the notice?" "It was hand-delivered this morning at 9. They should have it by now." My phone started ringing 5 minutes later. Michael. I didn't answer. He called 4 more times. Then Sophia called. Then a number I didn't recognize that was probably Richard Morrison. I let them all go to voicemail. Around noon, Michael showed up at my door. I was in my garage working on my truck. The old Dodge actually ran perfectly well, but I liked to maintain it myself. Kept my hands busy. Kept me grounded. "Mom!" Michael's voice was sharp, angry. "What the hell is this?" He was waving papers. The eviction notice. I wiped my hands on a rag and walked over. "Exactly what it looks like." "You're evicting us from our own home." "From my guest house," I corrected. "The converted garage apartment. The one you've been living in rent-free for 2 years. His face went red. "This is our home. We've been living here since before we got married. In the guest house, not the main house. There's a difference." "This is insane. You can't do this." "I can. I own the property. You're month-to-month tenants. I gave you 60 days notice. That's more than legally required." Sophia appeared behind him, her face blotchy from crying. Helen, please, we don't have anywhere to go. You have 60 days to figure it out. That's plenty of time. But the baby, Sophia said, putting her hand on her stomach. We're trying to start a family. We need stability. Should have thought of that before you tried to steal my house. We weren't stealing, Michael shouted. We were offering to buy it to help you. By threatening me with legal action if I didn't agree, by having Richard's lawyer draw up papers to prove I'm incompetent, that's help. Michael's mouth opened and closed. We were just trying to protect everyone's interests. My interests include keeping my house, Michael. The house I bought with my money. The house I've lived in for 23 years. The house you decided you deserved more. This isn't over, Michael said, his voice shaking. Richard's lawyer is going to do nothing, I interrupted. Because I have a lawyer too, a very good one, who has documented everything including your threats and Richard's brother's involvement. If you try to fight this, I'll file a complaint with the Texas Bar about a lawyer threatening legal action to coerce an elderly woman into signing over property. See how Richard likes that. I was bluffing. Mostly. Margaret hadn't said anything about filing complaints, but Michael didn't know that. You've changed, he said quietly. You're not the mother I knew. Or maybe I'm exactly who I've always been and you just never bothered to look. They left. Sophia was sobbing. Michael had his arm around her, shooting me looks over his shoulder that could have melted steel. I went back to working on my truck. My hands were shaking. The dinner party was supposed to start at 7. I showed up at 7:15. I'd spent the afternoon deciding what to wear. What costume would make the final reveal most satisfying? I settled on my usual. Faded Dickies work pants from Tractor Supply. An old flannel shirt that had been Tom's. My work boots, the ones with the worn-down heels. Hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup, no jewelry except for my wedding ring. I looked exactly like what they expected. A broke old woman who couldn't afford better. I parked my rusty Dodge Dakota in front of my own house between a Mercedes and a BMW. Before I got out, I checked my phone one more time. Made sure the app was working. The one that tracked Walsh Logistics' real-time revenue. The one I'd be showing everyone very soon. Then I grabbed the 6-pack of Shiner Bock I'd bought at the gas station. $7. The cheap beer that made Sophia wrinkle her nose every time I brought it. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. They were treating my house like it was already theirs. I could hear voices inside, laughter, the clink of wine glasses. When I stepped into the living room, the conversation didn't stop exactly, but it shifted, like a record skipping. Everyone noticed me, but they were trying to pretend they hadn't. My living room was full of people I didn't know. Well-dressed, expensive-looking people holding wine glasses that probably cost more than my entire outfit. Sophia spotted me first. Her eyes widened with something that might have been panic. Helen, she said, her voice too bright. You're here. I thought you might want to change first. Change into what? Something more. She gestured vaguely at my work clothes. The Morrisons are here. Michael's boss, Trevor. Some of my biggest clients. I just thought, this is fine, I said, holding up my 6-pack. Brought beer. I saw several people exchange glances. The kind of glances that said exactly what they thought about the old lady in work clothes who brought gas station beer to a wine party. Perfect. Michael appeared from the kitchen wearing a suit that probably cost $3,000. His face when he saw me was priceless. Anger and embarrassment fighting for dominance. Mom, he said through clenched teeth. Can I talk to you in private? We're good right here, I said cheerfully. Richard Morrison materialized at my elbow. He was wearing slacks and a button-down, looking every inch the successful car dealership owner. Helen, he said, and his voice was full of forced warmth. So glad you could make it. Come, let me introduce you to some people. He steered me toward a group of his friends before I could protest. 3 men in their 50s and 60s, all with the easy confidence that comes from old money. Gentlemen, this is Helen Walsh, Michael's mother. Helen, this is James. He owns Morrison Construction. David, he's in commercial real estate. And Thomas here is in private equity. They shook my hand with that careful politeness rich people use around working-class folks, like I might break if they squeezed too hard. Helen, James said, Richard tells me you work in warehousing. Most of my adult life, I said. Honest work, Thomas offered. Hard on the back, though, I'd imagine. You get used to it. Sophia appeared with a wine glass. She handed it to me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. From the house wine, Helen. I thought you'd prefer something simple. The house wine. Not the good bottles everyone else was drinking. The cheap stuff. I took it and smiled. Thank you, dear. David, the real estate guy, was looking around my living room with a professional eye. This is a beautiful home, Helen. You've been here long, 23 years. Property values in this neighborhood have skyrocketed, he said. You're sitting on quite an asset. So everyone keeps telling me. Patricia Morrison joined our circle elegant in a cream pantsuit. Helen, we were just discussing Michael and Sophia's wonderful news. You must be so excited. What news is that? She blinked. Well, the baby, the house, their whole future. Ah, yes, I said. The future where they take my house. An uncomfortable silence fell over our little group. Richard cleared his throat. Helen, we've talked about this. It's what's best for everyone. Is it? Before he could answer, Michael clinked a knife against a wine glass. The room went quiet. Everyone, he called out. Thank you all for coming tonight. Sophia and I have some news to share, and we wanted all of our closest friends and family here to celebrate with us. Sophia moved to stand beside him. She was wearing a dress that I recognized from one of her Instagram posts. Designer label. Probably cost $2,000. My son put his arm around his wife and smiled at the room full of people. As many of you know, Michael continued, Sophia and I have been thinking a lot about our future, about starting a family, building something lasting. Murmurs of approval from the crowd. This house, Michael gestured around, has been in my family for years. My mother raised me here, and now Sophia and I are going to raise our family here. More murmurs. A few people glanced at me. I sipped my cheap wine. We've been working with lawyers, Sophia added, her voice carrying across the room, to make sure the transition is smooth, to make sure Helen is taken care of. Taken care of. Like I was a problem to be managed. The paperwork is almost finalized, Michael said. In a few weeks, this house will officially be ours, and we'll finally be able to start the next chapter of our lives. The room erupted in congratulations. People hugging Sophia, shaking Michael's hand. Patricia Morrison was crying. Someone proposed a toast. Everyone raised their glasses, except me. Michael noticed. Of course he did. Mom, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. Aren't you happy for us? The room went quiet. 20 pairs of eyes turned to look at me. I set down my wine glass carefully. I'm curious about something, I said. My voice was calm, conversational. Michael, how much do you think this house is worth? He looked confused by the question. We had it appraised. $740,000. And how do you think I've been paying for it all these years? The mortgage, the taxes, the maintenance, Richard answered before Michael could. Helen, we know it's been a struggle. That's exactly why this solution makes sense for everyone. There is no mortgage, I said clearly. I paid cash for this house in 2001, $280,000. Michael laughed, nervous and condescending at the same time. Mom, that's not possible. Where would you get that kind of money? You were working at a warehouse. Where would I get it? I repeated. The room had gone completely silent now. You could have heard a pin drop. Michael, I said, do you know which warehouse I work at? You never really talk about work, he said, but there was uncertainty creeping into his voice now. I work at Walsh Logistics' main distribution center in Irving, the one right off Route 114. Michael frowned. My company has an account with Walsh Logistics. We ship through them all the time. Interesting, I said. Tell me, when you send shipments through Walsh Logistics, who do you think owns that company? Trevor, Michael's boss, spoke up from across the room. He was looking at his phone. Walsh Logistics is privately held. The owner's name is... He scrolled. Helen Walsh. He looked up at me. His face had gone pale. Huh, he said. Same name as you. That's because it is me, I said. The silence was absolute now. Michael stared at me. What? I pulled out my flip phone. The one Sophia always mocked. The one that cost $800. I own Walsh Logistics, I said clearly. I founded it in 2007 after selling my first company. We operate 48 warehouse facilities in 12 states. Current valuation is approximately $72 million. Sophia made a choking sound. I opened the app on my phone. The dashboard showed real-time data from all our facilities, revenue tracking, fleet management, everything. Today's gross revenue across all facilities, I said, holding up the phone so people nearby could see. $216,000. That's today, just today. I scrolled down. Yesterday was slightly better, $221,000. Last week's total was $1.4 million. Richard Morrison had gone completely white. You're Helen Walsh. The Helen Walsh from Walsh Logistics. The same. We've been trying to acquire your Irving facility for 3 years. You've refused every offer. Because I wasn't selling, I said. Well, I wasn't selling to you, but I did sell it. Yesterday, actually. To Robert Patterson. Do you know him? Richard nodded numbly. Patterson Industries. We compete for contracts constantly. The transaction closed yesterday at 11:42 a.m. Robert takes possession this morning. Full operational control by noon. Michael found his voice. You sold the warehouse where I work. I sold the building your company leases space in, yes. Trevor was staring at his phone, his face growing more horrified by the second. Our CFO just texted. Patterson Industries sent new lease terms this morning, $55,000 per month up from $32, plus additional fees for premium dock access, expedited processing, after-hours loading. He looked up at me. That's an extra $276,000 per year. Patterson renegotiates aggressively, I said. I understand he's less flexible than I was. Patricia Morrison grabbed her husband's arm. Richard, don't your dealerships ship all your parts through that facility? All 3 dealerships, Richard confirmed, his voice hollow. Our entire logistics chain runs through Irving. You might want to talk to Robert about securing new terms, I suggested. Though I understand he's selective about who he works with. Trevor's hand was shaking as he read from his phone. The CFO says this is going to force budget cuts, significant ones. We can't absorb an extra $250,000 in overhead. He looked at Michael. The look said everything. Michael grabbed my arm. Mom, you can't do this. Can't do what own a business, run it how I see fit, sell property to qualified buyers. You did this because of the house. I sold the Irving facility because Robert Patterson offered me $38 million and I accepted. The fact that your employer leases space there is incidental. Incidental, Michael's voice was rising. You knew it would hurt my company. I knew it would affect the operational costs of a company where my son works, yes. Whether that hurts them depends on how they manage the situation. Sophia was scrolling frantically through her phone. Her Instagram, I noticed. Henry, she said, then corrected herself. Helen, are you Walsh Logistics, the private company, the one that's been buying up distribution centers across the South? I prefer to keep a low profile. Bloomberg wrote about you, Sophia continued, her voice shaking. They called you a ghost mogul, one of the most successful women in logistics that nobody's ever heard of. I prefer private, I said again. Michael sat down hard on my couch in my house. This doesn't make sense, he said. You live like someone who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, I finished. Michael, when's the last time you asked about my work, about my day, about anything in my life that wasn't convenient for you to know? He opened his mouth, closed it. I'll wait, I said. The room waited with me, 20 people watching my son realize he knew absolutely nothing about his mother. Sophia broke the silence. But the house, you let me think you were struggling. I never said I was struggling. You assumed. You saw an old truck and work clothes and decided you knew everything about my financial situation. But I'm your son, Michael said, and his voice cracked. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to know who you'd become without money influencing it. I wanted to know if you'd value people for who they are, not what they have. If you'd love your mother when you thought she had nothing. I looked around the room at all the shocked faces. And you failed that test, Michael. Spectacularly. Patricia tried to salvage the situation. Helen, surely you understand. Michael and Sophia were just trying to look out for your best interests. By threatening me with legal action if I didn't sign over my house, by having Richard's brother draw up papers claiming I couldn't properly maintain my own property. Richard shifted uncomfortably. We thought you might need guidance. Guidance? I pulled out my phone again, opened my banking app, this app. Let me show you something. I navigated to my First Republic account, held up the screen so people could see. Trust account balance as of this morning, $41.3 million. Sophia gasped. I opened another screen. Investment portfolio, $12.7 million. Real estate holdings beyond the logistics facilities, another $18 million in residential and commercial properties. I did the math publicly. Total liquid net worth approximately $72.1 million. Give or take what the market did today. Trevor was the first to move toward the door. Michael, I think we should go. We have a lot to discuss about the warehouse situation. Others began to follow. Sophia's design clients, Michael's co-workers, the Morrisons' friends. Within 10 minutes, my living room had cleared out. The only people left were Michael, Sophia, Richard, and Patricia. Richard tried one last time. Helen, perhaps we should discuss this privately. There's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I said. You tried to intimidate me into giving up my property. You failed. Now you're dealing with increased business costs because I sold an asset to a qualified buyer. That's just business. But our dealerships, Richard said. The shipping costs. Not my problem. You should have thought of that before your attorney brother sent threatening letters to a woman who owns half the distribution capacity in North Texas. Patricia looked at Michael. Did you know any of this? Michael shook his head, looking lost. Mom, he said quietly. Why? Why what? Why didn't you tell me about the money, the company, any of it? I sat down across from him. Because your father and I wanted you to grow up normal, to build your own success, to become the kind of person who judges others by their character instead of their bank account. My voice got harder. But instead you became someone who tried to steal your mother's house because you thought she was too poor and too stupid to stop you. That's not, Michael started. That's exactly it, Sophia interrupted. She was crying now. We thought we were helping, but really we just wanted the house. We wanted the equity. We wanted to look successful to our friends. At least she was being honest. I stood up. I need you all to leave now. Michael, Sophia, you have 60 days to find a new place. Richard, Patricia, I'd suggest you start looking for new logistics partners. Mom, please, Michael said. But I was already walking toward my home office. I had one more thing to show them. I came back with a folder, handed it to Michael. What's this? He asked. The property transfer documents I signed yesterday. This house is now held in the Walsh Family Trust. As of this morning, you and Sophia are listed as temporary residents with a 60-day notice requirement. You received formal eviction notices this morning. Eviction, Sophia whispered. You're evicting us from your house. I'm evicting you from my guest house, I corrected. The converted garage apartment. The one you've been living in rent-free for 2 years while somehow convincing yourselves it was the main house. Michael's face went from white to red. This can't be legal. I pulled out my phone and called Margaret Chen. She answered on the first ring. Margaret, I'm here with Michael and the Morrisons. Can you explain the guest house situation? Her voice came through speakerphone, clear and professional. The property at 4782 Oakmont Drive includes a primary residence of 200 square feet and a detached guest apartment of 850 square feet. Michael and Sophia Walsh have resided in the guest apartment since July 2022 under a month-to-month occupancy agreement. As of Monday, Helen Walsh issued a 60-day notice to vacate, all entirely legal under Texas property law. But we've been paying rent, Sophia protested. No, Margaret corrected. You've been making monthly payments of $300 to cover utilities and maintenance. Market rate for that apartment would be at least $1,800 per month. You've been living significantly below cost. Helen has been subsidizing your housing for 2 years. I hung up. Michael's face had gone from red to white. Mom, we have nowhere to go. You have 60 days to figure it out. What about my job, the shipping costs? What if they lay me off? Talk to your boss about budget adjustments, or find a new job. Companies are always hiring. That's what you'd tell me to do if I was struggling, right? Just work harder. Michael stood up. His hands were shaking. This isn't over. Actually, I said quietly, I think it is. You can be angry at me. You can tell everyone I'm a cruel mother. But at some point you need to ask yourself why you thought it was acceptable to take someone's home, even if that someone was your own mother who you thought couldn't stop you. They left just after midnight. I sat in my kitchen in my house, and felt the weight of everything settle over me. My phone started buzzing, a flood of notifications. I'd forgotten about Sophia's Instagram. She'd gone live. I opened the app. 14,000 people watching her have a complete breakdown in her BMW. You guys, she was saying, her face blotchy with tears. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. My mother-in-law isn't poor. She's worth $72 million. $72 million. And we just tried to take her house from her. The comments were exploding. What? Oh my God, is this real? Did you just say $72 million? Sophia kept going. She owns Walsh Logistics, the whole company, and she's been watching us treat her like she was broke this whole time. Like she was nothing. Michael appeared in the frame looking defeated. Sophia, turn it off. No, her voice was firm. No, my followers need to know what entitled brats we've been. We tried to evict my mother-in-law from her own house. We sent lawyers. We threatened her. And she just made 3 phone calls and took away everything. The viewer count climbed. 200 people watching my daughter-in-law realize what she'd done. Michael's company is about to lose $250,000 in increased overhead because she sold a warehouse to teach us a lesson. And you know what? We deserved it. We deserved every bit of it. The comments were merciless. You tried to steal her house. Karma is real. Your Emil is a legend. This is what entitlement looks like. Michael tried again. Sophia, please. Everyone's going to see this. Good. She looked directly at the camera, mascara running down her face. Maybe I need people to see what I really am. Someone who judges people by their car and their clothes instead of who they are. Someone who thought an old woman in work pants couldn't possibly be successful. She wiped her eyes. If you're watching this, Helen, I'm so sorry. We don't deserve your forgiveness. We don't deserve anything from you. She ended the stream. 200 people had watched. By morning, the clips would be everywhere. I closed the app and set down my phone, sat in the silence of my house. Tomorrow, I'd deal with the fallout. Tonight, I just needed to sit with what I'd done. Dr. Martinez was right. Humiliation doesn't teach humility, but maybe, just maybe, it teaches consequences. And maybe that was a lesson Michael needed to learn. Wednesday morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. I'd slept maybe 3 hours. Kept waking up thinking about Sophia's face on that live stream, about Michael's expression when he realized what I'd done, about the fact that I'd just humiliated my own son in front of everyone he knew. Dr. Martinez's words kept echoing in my head. Humiliation doesn't teach humility. It teaches resentment. But I couldn't take it back now. The video was already everywhere. I made coffee and opened my laptop, searched Walsh Logistics mother-in-law. The results made my stomach drop. TikTok reactions. Emil owns $72 million company destroys greedy son. Twitter threads. This is the most satisfying thing I've seen all year. YouTube, entitled daughter-in-law tries to steal from secret millionaire. Instant karma. Someone had edited together all of Sophia's Instagram posts about renovating her house with the live stream breakdown. It had 2 million views. The comments were brutal. She thought she could steal from an old lady and got wrecked. Grandma is a boss. This is what happens when you judge people by their appearance. I hope they lose everything. That last one made me close the laptop. I didn't want them to lose everything. I just wanted them to understand, to learn. But maybe I'd gone too far. My phone rang again. Margaret Chen. Helen, have you seen the news? Some of it. It's everywhere. Every business publication is calling. Forbes wants an interview. Bloomberg wants to do a follow-up profile. There's a reporter from the Wall Street Journal camped outside your office building. I rubbed my temples. Tell them no comment. Helen, this is actually good publicity for Walsh Logistics. You're being portrayed as a savvy businesswoman who refused to be taken advantage of. Your company's profile has never been higher. I don't care about publicity, Margaret. I never have. She was quiet for a moment. What do you care about? I care about whether I just destroyed my relationship with my son permanently. Ah, another pause. Have you talked to him? He's not answering my calls. Give him time. What you did was dramatic, but he needed to learn this lesson. Did he need to learn it in front of millions of people? Margaret didn't answer that. Thursday morning, Michael's boss, Trevor, called me. Ms. Walsh, he said, his voice carefully professional. I wanted to discuss the situation with TechFlow Solutions and the warehouse lease. I no longer own that property, Mr. Warner. You'll need to negotiate with Robert Patterson. I've tried. He's not responsive to our requests for consideration. Robert runs a tight operation. Ms. Walsh, I need to be frank with you. The increased overhead costs are forcing us to make difficult decisions. We're looking at layoffs. Michael is... He trailed off. Michael is what? He's a good employee, but he's also one of our highest paid managers. And given the circumstances, given that everyone now knows his mother owned the warehouse and gave us a discount we weren't entitled to, there are questions about whether he disclosed that relationship. He didn't know about the relationship. He had no idea I owned Walsh Logistics. I understand that now, but the optics are complicated. Our CFO is concerned about conflicts of interest. Board members are asking questions. My chest tightened. Are you going to fire him? I'm trying not to, but I need to cut costs somewhere and Michael's position is vulnerable. I wanted you to know that before it happens. When end of the month, maybe sooner if the numbers don't improve. He hung up. I sat in my kitchen staring at my coffee. I'd wanted to teach Michael a lesson about consequences, about not judging people by their appearance, about respecting his mother. I hadn't wanted to cost him his job. Friday afternoon, Sophia's business partner called. I didn't even know she had a business partner until Amanda Chen introduced herself. Ms. Walsh, I'm calling about Design by Sophia, the interior design firm Sophia co-owns with me. I didn't realize it was a partnership. 60-40 split. I'm the majority owner. Sophia handles client relations and social media. I handle the business operations. I see. Ms. Walsh, I'm calling because I need to dissolve the partnership. After the live stream, we've lost every single client. Every single one. The ones who haven't canceled outright are reconsidering their options. Our insurance carrier is even asking questions. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you... Her voice was sharp. Because you're the one who caused this. You humiliated your daughter-in-law in front of 14,000 people. Made her a cautionary tale about entitlement. And now I'm losing my business because of family drama that had nothing to do with me. She was right. I hadn't thought about collateral damage. Sophia's a good designer, Amanda continued. But she's toxic now. No one wants to work with someone who tried to steal their mother-in-law's house. So I'm buying out her share. 30 cents on the dollar, take it or leave it. That seems unfair to her. Life's unfair, Ms. Walsh. She's learning that now. Amanda hung up. I sat there feeling sick. Saturday morning, I drove to Michael and Sophia's guest house, the converted garage apartment I'd let them live in for 2 years. The place I'd charged them $300 a month for when I could have gotten $1,800. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Michael, I know you're in there. Your truck's in the driveway. Finally, the door opened. Michael looked terrible, unshaven, hair a mess, still wearing pajama pants at 11 in the morning. What do you want? His voice was flat. To talk. There's nothing to talk about. You've made your point. You've destroyed everything. Congratulations. Michael. No. He held up his hand. You don't get to do this. You don't get to ruin our lives and then show up playing the concerned mother. Your lives aren't ruined. Really? He laughed bitterly. Sophia lost her business. I'm about to lose my job. We're being evicted from our home. Our faces are all over the internet with people calling us greedy, entitled, spoiled brats. But sure, Mom, our lives aren't ruined. Sophia appeared behind him. She looked even worse. Eyes swollen from crying, hair unwashed. Helen, she said quietly. Why are you here? I wanted to see if you're okay. Okay. Sophia's voice cracked. I've lost everything. My business, my reputation, my Instagram following. I had 14,000 people who trusted me for design advice. Now I have 800 and half of them are just there to watch me fail. I'm sorry, I said. Are you? Michael challenged. Because it seems like this is exactly what you wanted. To teach us a lesson. To show us who's really in charge. Mission accomplished. That's not what I wanted. Then what did you want? Michael's voice rose. You humiliated us. You sold a warehouse just to hurt my company. You're evicting us. What lesson are we supposed to learn except that you're vindictive and cruel? The words hit like a slap. I wanted you to understand what it feels like, I said quietly. To be dismissed. To be judged by your appearance. To have people make decisions about your life without your input. To feel powerless. Well, congratulations, Sophia said. We understand. We understand perfectly. Good, I said. said. Because for 6 weeks, that's how you made me feel. You posted pictures of my home on Instagram like it was already yours. You brought your parents over to inspect my house like I was incompetent. You threatened me with legal action. You gave me 30 days to get out of my own home. My voice was shaking now. You made me feel like I was nothing, like my life didn't matter, like I was just an obstacle between you and what you wanted. Michael's jaw tightened. We were trying to help. No, you were trying to take what you wanted and calling it help. There's a difference. We stood there in the doorway, 3 people who used to be family, now barely able to look at each other. I'm sorry it came to this, I said finally. I'm sorry people are being cruel online. I'm sorry about your jobs and your business, but I'm not sorry for showing you who I really am, or for refusing to let you take my house. I turned to leave. Mom, Michael said. I stopped. Did you ever love me? His voice was small, broken. Or was this whole thing just an experiment? Just you and Dad testing me to see if I'd pass? I turned back. Of course I loved you. I love you now. That's why this hurts so much. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. If you loved me, you wouldn't have tried to take my house. We stared at each other. Both right, both wrong. I left. Sunday evening, I was on my back porch when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Ms. Walsh, a young woman's voice. This is Jennifer Tran. I'm a reporter with the Dallas Morning News. I was hoping to get your perspective on the viral video situation. No comment. I understand you want privacy, but Ms. Walsh, there's another angle to this story that I think needs to be told. Which is the consequences. Your son is about to lose his job. Your daughter-in-law's business is destroyed. They're facing eviction. Yes, they made mistakes, but has the punishment fit the crime? I was quiet. Ms. Walsh, you're a successful businesswoman. You've built an empire, but at what cost is destroying your son's life really teaching him a lesson, or is it just revenge? This conversation is over. One more thing, Jennifer said quickly. I spoke to Dr. Susan Martinez. She confirmed she's your therapist. She wouldn't give details, but she said something interesting. She said you came to her before you did all this. Asked her to document that you were of sound mind. Why would you need to do that unless you knew what you were planning was extreme? I hung up, but her words stayed with me. Had I gone too far? Was this teaching Michael a lesson, or was I just proving I could hurt him worse than he'd hurt me? Monday morning, I called Robert Patterson. Helen, he answered. I've been wondering when I'd hear from you. The lease situation with TechFlow Solutions. Is there any flexibility in the new rates? Wondering if you'd ask about that. Answer's no. Business is business. They want the space they pay market rate. What if I covered the difference? Silence. Then you want to subsidize your son's company after everything. I want him to keep his job. Helen, he tried to steal your house. I know, but I don't want him unemployed. There's a difference between teaching a lesson and destroying someone's livelihood. Robert sighed. You're too soft. Always have been. Can you do it? I can offer them a transition period. 6 months at a reduced rate while they adjust their budget. After that, full market rate. But Helen, I'm doing this as a favor to you, not them. Thank you. You're welcome. Though I think you're making a mistake. Maybe I was, but I couldn't stand by and watch Michael lose everything because of what I'd done. Tuesday afternoon, 3 weeks after the dinner party, Michael showed up at my door. No Sophia this time. Just him wearing jeans and an old college t-shirt. Can I come in? He asked. I stepped aside. We sat in my living room, the same living room where everything had imploded 3 weeks ago. Trevor called me, Michael said. Told me the warehouse rates are being reduced. Transition period for 6 months. That's good news. He also told me you arranged it, called Patterson and worked out a deal. I didn't say anything. Why? Michael asked. After everything I did. After I tried to take your house, after I called you broke and embarrassing, after I threatened you with lawyers. Why would you help me? Because you're my son. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. Michael was quiet for a long time. Then, I got a job offer. Different company, smaller firm, regional manager position, $42,000 a year. It's a huge pay cut. Are you going to take it? I already did. Trevor's keeping me on until the end of the month, but we both know it's time for me to go. The optics are too complicated. Everyone knows you owned the warehouse. Questions about conflicts of interest aren't going away. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's probably what I need. He rubbed his face. Sophia and I have been talking. A lot. About everything. About who we've become. About the kind of people we want to be. And we've been horrible. Not just to you, to each other, to ourselves. We got so caught up in looking successful that we forgot to actually be good people. He pulled out his phone, showed me an Instagram post. Sophia's account, but it looked different. No fancy staging, just her no makeup in casual clothes. The caption read, "I owe everyone an apology. For the past 3 years, I've been selling you a lie. Perfect rooms, perfect life, perfect everything." But none of it was real. The truth is, I was so focused on appearing successful that I became someone I don't recognize. Someone who tried to take advantage of her mother-in-law. Someone who valued things over people. I'm closing this account. Taking time to figure out who I really am without the performance. Thank you to the 800 people who stuck around. You deserve better than the person I've been. She posted this yesterday, Michael said. Deleted the account this morning. How is she? Devastated. Scared. But also maybe a little relieved, like she doesn't have to pretend anymore. And you? Michael looked at me. Really looked at me for the first time in weeks. I'm ashamed, Mom. Of everything. Of how I treated you. Of who I became. Of thinking money and a big house were more important than the woman who raised me. His voice cracked. You were right. You and Dad raised me to build my own success. To value people for who they are. And instead I became someone who looked at his own mother and saw nothing but an opportunity. I felt my own eyes getting wet. I don't know if you can forgive me, Michael continued. I don't know if I deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. I forgive you, I said. Just like that. Not just like that. But yes. We sat in silence for a while. We found an apartment, Michael said finally. In Arlington. $900 a month. It's small, 800 square feet, but it's what we can afford on my new salary. That sounds good. Sophia got a job too. Retail, furniture store. She's learning the business from the ground up. Says maybe someday she'll try design again, but right now she needs to learn what actual work feels like. I'm proud of you both. Don't be proud yet, Michael said. We haven't proven anything. We're just trying. Learning to budget. Learning to cook. Learning to live on what we actually earn instead of what we think we deserve. He stood up. I should go. We're packing. Have to be out in 2 weeks. Michael, I said, would you and Sophia like to come for dinner next Saturday? Nothing fancy. Just dinner. He looked surprised. You want us to come over? I'd like to try, if you're willing. I'll ask Sophia. He left. I sat on my couch for a long time feeling something that might have been hope. Saturday evening arrived too fast. I'd spent all day cooking. Nothing fancy like I'd promised. Just pot roast and mashed potatoes and green beans. Comfort food, the kind I used to make when Michael was growing up. They arrived at 6, both of them looking nervous. Sophia's hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup. She wore jeans and a plain sweater. Michael had on khakis and a button-down that looked like it came from Target. They looked younger somehow. More real. Come in, I said. We stood in the entryway awkwardly. 3 people who used to be comfortable together now not sure how to act. Something smells good, Sophia offered. Pot roast, Michael's favorite when he was growing up. I remember, Michael said quietly. We moved to the kitchen. I'd set the table for 3. Simple plates, nothing fancy. Sophia noticed. Can we help? You can pour water, I said. Glasses are in the same place they've always been. We worked together in silence, dishing up food, setting it on the table, sitting down. For a moment, nobody ate, just looked at their plates. Finally, Sophia spoke. Helen, I wrote something. I wanted to read it to you, if that's okay. Go ahead. She pulled out a piece of notebook paper. Her hands were shaking slightly. Helen, she read. 3 weeks ago, I tried to take your house because I thought I deserved it more than you did. I thought you were a simple woman who got lucky and I was a sophisticated person who'd earned success. I was wrong about everything. Her voice was steady now, stronger. I spent 29 years measuring worth by price tags. Your truck was cheap, so you must be poor. My BMW was expensive, so I must be successful. I never asked what it cost you to pay for Michael's education, his wedding, the countless times you helped us without us even noticing. She paused, looking up at me. I never said thank you because I thought you owed us everything. I thought being family meant you had to give me what I wanted. And when you didn't, I decided to take it. Sophia folded the paper carefully. I'm not asking you to take us back. I'm not asking for money or help or anything else. I'm asking for a chance to learn how to be people you could be proud of. Michael added, we both got the jobs we mentioned. I start Monday at the new company. Entry-level management, $42,000 a year. Sophia's working at Harper's Furniture, selling and learning about the business. We found the apartment, Sophia continued, $900 a month. She looked around my spacious kitchen. It's very small, one-bedroom tiny kitchen, but it's ours. We're paying for it ourselves. We've been learning to cook, Michael said, learning to budget, learning to live on what we actually make instead of what we thought we deserved. It's hard, Helen, Sophia admitted. Some days I want to cry because I can't just buy things anymore, because I have to choose between getting my nails done or buying groceries, because I have to wear the same clothes over and over. But it's also, she searched for the word, honest. For the first time in my life, I know exactly what things cost, what I'm worth, what I can actually do. I looked at them both, really looked at them. They'd lost weight, both of them, the kind of weight that comes from stress and learning to eat cheaper food. But there was something else different too, something in their eyes. They looked humbled, but not broken. Michael, I said, what have you learned? He set down his fork. That I don't know how to do anything. You raised me comfortable. You paid for everything. And I never asked what that cost you. Not just money, time, energy, choices you didn't make because you were busy taking care of me. He looked at his hands. I'm 32 years old, and I'm just now learning how to be an adult, how to live within my means, how to appreciate what I have instead of always wanting more. And I learned, he continued, that being a man isn't about having a big title or expensive things. It's about working hard, keeping your word, not expecting the world to hand you anything. His voice got quiet. You showed me that every day, Mom, and I was too arrogant to see it. You weren't arrogant, I said. You were entitled. There's a difference. Entitled means you think you deserve things just for existing. Arrogant means you think you're better than others. You weren't arrogant, I repeated. You just genuinely believed the world owed you success because you went to business school and married well. Michael nodded slowly. And now I'm grateful for a $42,000 a year job because I earned it myself. I'm grateful for a $900 apartment because it's ours. I'm grateful you're even willing to talk to us. Sophia added, the Instagram thing, losing the followers, losing the business. It was horrible. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. She paused. But you know what? It was also the best thing, because now I know who I am without the performance, without the likes and the validation. I'm just Sophia, working retail, learning to cook spaghetti, trying to be a better person. I felt something in my chest loosening, something that had been tight since the dinner party. Would you like to stay for dessert? I asked. I made apple pie. They both smiled, real smiles, the first I'd seen in weeks. We'd love to, Michael said. We made spaghetti together the following Saturday. I'd invited them over again, told them to come hungry and ready to cook. Sophia burned the garlic. Michael overcooked the pasta. We laughed about it. Actually laughed. It felt like coming home. As we were eating, Michael said, Mom, I need to ask you something, and I need the truth. Okay. Did you plan all of this? The warehouse sale, the eviction, everything. Did you know we were going to try to take the house so you could teach us a lesson? I thought about how to answer. No, I didn't plan it. But after you threatened me, after you gave me 30 days, I knew I had to do something. Why not just tell us the truth? Show us the bank statements. Prove you weren't poor. Because you shouldn't need bank statements to treat someone with respect, Michael. You should have respected me because I'm your mother. Because I raised you. Because I'm a human being with dignity. I set down my fork. The money shouldn't matter. That's the point. You should have valued me whether I had $72 million or $72. You're right, Sophia said. We should have. And we didn't. And we're sorry. We finished dinner in comfortable silence, cleaned up together. Michael washed Sophia dried I put away, like a family. As they were leaving, Michael stopped at the door. Mom, he said. Thank you. For what? For everything. For the house I got to grow up in. For the education you paid for. For the lesson you taught me even though it hurt. He hugged me. A real hug. The first one in years. Most of all, he said quietly, thank you for not giving up on me. I haven't given up, I said. I've just stopped doing the work you need to do yourself. 3 months later, I got a call from Michael. Mom, can Sophia and I come over? We have something to show you. They arrived looking excited. Nervous, but excited. Sophia handed me a folder. Open it. Inside were documents, lease agreements, business licenses, a logo design. What is this? We're starting a business, Michael explained. Nothing fancy. Sophia's going to offer budget design consultations. Help people who can't afford expensive designers make their homes look good with what they can afford. I've learned so much working at Harper's, Sophia said. About furniture construction, about value, about helping people within their budget. I want to use that. And I'm going to help with the business side, Michael added. Marketing, operations, bookkeeping. My new job is good, but I want to build something of our own. Something we can be proud of. I looked at the documents. Simple, modest, realistic. How are you funding it? Savings, Sophia said. We've been putting away $500 a month, living on less than we make. It'll take time to build, but we're not in a hurry. We wanted to ask, Michael said carefully, if you'd be willing to look over the business plan. Give us advice. We're not asking for money, just guidance. From someone who's built a successful company. I looked at my son, at the man he was becoming. I'd be honored, I said. 6 months after the dinner party, I was sitting on my back porch when I heard a knock. Michael and Sophia stood there, both beaming. We got our first client, Sophia said. A young couple. They have a $1,500 budget to furnish their living room. I'm going to help them make it beautiful. That's wonderful. And Mom, Michael added, I got promoted at my new company. It's not regional manager, just team lead. But it's a $3,000 raise, and I earned it. The pride in his voice was genuine, not the false pride of entitlement. Real pride. The kind that comes from working hard and being recognized for it. I'm proud of you both, I said. There's one more thing, Sophia said. She exchanged a glance with Michael. We're pregnant. For real this time. Not just planning for it. Actually pregnant. My breath caught. Oh my God. We wanted you to be the first to know, Michael said. Because we want our child to know their grandmother. The real you. Not the person we thought you were. The woman who built a $72 million company. Who taught her son the hardest lesson he ever needed to learn. Tears were running down my face now. We want to raise them the way you raised me, Michael continued. With strong values, with humility, with the understanding that people matter more than things. But we also want to tell them the truth, Sophia added, about who you are, about what you've accomplished, because they should know their grandmother is brilliant and strong and successful, and that none of that matters as much as the fact that she's kind. I pulled them both into a hug, my son, my daughter-in-law, my future grandchild. There's something I need to tell you, I said. About the inheritance. They pulled back, looking worried. I've been thinking about this a lot, about what you'll inherit when I'm gone, and I've decided something. Michael's face was careful, neutral. Okay, you're not getting the money, not all of it, not immediately. Sophia started to speak, but I held up my hand. Here's what's going to happen. When I die, you'll get this house, paid off, no strings attached. You'll get enough money to pay any estate taxes and ensure financial security. $2 million. The rest, all $70 million, goes into a trust. The trust will fund scholarships for first-generation college students, women starting businesses, people who need a chance but don't have resources. Michael was staring at me. Mom, let me finish. You can be on the board of that trust if you want. Help make decisions about who gets funding. But you don't get to spend it on yourselves. You use it to help people the way I wish I'd been helped when I was starting out. Sophia paused. That's perfect. You're okay with that, I asked. Not getting the full inheritance, Mom, Michael said. We don't want your money. We just want you. We want our kid to know you. We want to learn from you. The money, he shook his head. We'll build our own. Just like you taught me to, he added quietly. 1 year after the dinner party on a warm Saturday evening, we all sat on my back porch. Michael, Sophia, and me. And baby Emma, 3 months old, sleeping in her grandmother's arms. Tell her about the warehouse, Sophia said. Tell her about the business you built. She's 3 months old? I laughed. She can't understand. But she will someday, Michael said. And I want her to grow up hearing the story. About her grandmother who built an empire. Who taught her son that respect isn't about money. Who showed us all what real strength looks like. I looked down at Emma, at her tiny, perfect face, at the future sleeping in my arms. Someday, I said, I'll tell her everything. About Walsh Logistics, about the warehouses, about the hardest decision I ever made. But first, I continued, I'll tell her about her father, about how he made mistakes, about how he learned from them, about how he became the man he was meant to be. Michael reached over and took my hand. Thank you, Mom. For what? For not giving up on me, for teaching me what I needed to learn, for loving me enough to let me fail. Emma stirred in my arms, opened her eyes, looked at me with that unfocused newborn gaze. You're going to grow up knowing your worth, I told her softly. Not because of money, not because of things, but because of who you are, because of the choices you make, because of how you treat people. I looked at Michael and Sophia, at the family we'd almost lost and somehow managed to save. That's the only inheritance worth having, I said. Everything else is just money. Later that night after they'd left, I sat at my desk and pulled out the documents I'd been working on. Changes to my will, the trust structure for the scholarships, letters for Michael and Emma to read after I was gone. In one letter, I wrote about the experiment Tom and I had started, about living modestly, about wanting to see who Michael would become. We made mistakes, I wrote. We should have been more open, should have taught you about money and success and responsibility directly instead of hoping you'd figure it out on your own. But in the end, maybe the lesson you learned was worth the pain it took to learn it. Maybe the person you've become is stronger because you had to lose everything to find yourself. I sealed the letter, labeled it for Michael, to be opened after I'm gone. Then I wrote another one, for Emma. Dear Emma, I wrote, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. But I want you to know about your father, about the mistakes he made and how he fixed them, about the lesson he learned that changed his life. He learned that people are more valuable than property, that respect isn't about money, that the hardest lessons hurt the most but teach the best. Remember that, Emma, when you're tempted to judge someone by their appearance, when you think you deserve something just because you want it, when you forget that every person you meet has dignity worth respecting. Remember your grandmother who built an empire but lived like she had nothing. Remember your father who had to lose everything to find himself. Remember that the only wealth worth having is the kind that makes you a better person. I sealed that letter too. Then I walked out to my back porch and looked at the stars. Tom would have been proud, I thought. Of Michael, of me, of how we'd almost lost each other but found our way back. We did it, I whispered to the night. He learned the lesson. Finally. The stars didn't answer, but I felt Tom's presence anyway, felt his approval, felt his love, and I knew somehow that everything was going to be okay.